Good evening everyone, welcome to a Severe Weather Chasers update today, the 14th of February 2012. We can see there's a situation developing in the Coral Sea of a trough system, and we need to focus in on this trough system as it pushes westwards, because at the same time as the trough system at the surface is occurring, there's also a little bit of mid-level instability, and you can tell that through this little line up here, which tells us the thickness between the surface and 500 hectopascals. So we're 5,760 meters, and we can see that this line juts up towards the north, and when that happens we see that there's actually it's actually a lot, the distance between the surface and 500 hectopascals becomes smaller, which allows particles to rise faster and therefore increases the potential for rainfall. So keep an eye on what this little red line does, and as well as have a look at the sort of rainfall we're expecting, and also what the isobars do, because you'll see that the isobars, these black lines, will tighten up as we progress. So this was 10 a.m. this morning. This is 4 p.m. today, 10 p.m. today, 4 a.m. tomorrow, and 10 a.m. tomorrow, 4 p.m. tomorrow, and 10 p.m. tomorrow. So by 10 p.m. tomorrow we've got this 576 line in the red line pushing up this way, but we've also got an increase in southeasterly feed. Now the combination of those two features is going to create a fair bit of rainfall on the central coast and also in the north tropical coast, with a little bit of shower activity also popping right on the coastal fringe here in the Herbert Lower Burdekin. If we continue on to Thursday morning, we see that rainfall is actually starting to become more widespread now, and we see this 576 line has just jutted up further northwards, and we even see this 570 line starting to creep northwards as well. And we've got a feed here which is very much a southeasterly at the surface, which doesn't bode well particularly for Townsville, but there's other areas of the coastline that are more exposed to this sort of feed, and with those sort of regions we could be seeing some reasonable rainfalls. If we continue then on to Thursday 10 a.m, we continue to see that that rainfall pattern. At Thursday 4 p.m, we also see similar rainfall patterns. Thursday 10 p.m, and Friday 4 a.m, we really do see by Friday morning the rainfall, or the bulk of the rainfall, is now north of Townsville, and even the central coast starts to ease off here because they start to get more of a southerly feed. So basically what we're saying, over the next couple of days we're going to see a general destabilisation of the surface pattern, and with the development of a trough system in the Coral Sea which will push west, and a southeast and a moist southeast feed at the surface, will create some fairly moderate to heavy falls of rain anywhere to the north of Townsville, as well as to areas on the central coast initially, before what we should start to see is a very temporary easing off. But if we continue on through Friday 10 a.m, Friday 4 p.m, we start to see a little low pressure system develop right in here, and so by Friday 4 p.m there's a little tiny low. It's really very small, but because we're using a higher resolution modelling of the European, we can see that it does develop just inland of the Herbert, and that pushes an onshore stream back onto the coast, and we also start to see heavier rainfall hitting the coast Friday afternoon and Friday night. That low is very weak, so it eases off by Friday night. And on Saturday we continue to see 10 a.m. Saturday. This is 4 p.m. Saturday. Once again, 4 p.m. Saturday, the heating of the ground coupled with the trough system creates a little surface low, very weak one. And once again, just to the south of that surface low, some enhanced rainfall. You can see bits of blue there. So it's certainly something we will need to watch, particularly if those little tiny low pressure systems do develop just on the coast. And like, we're going into Sunday afternoon now, and by Sunday afternoon we start to see more of an onshore easterly or east northeasterly feed, and that generally means the rainfall comes back into Herbert Burdekin region rather than simply the north tropical coast. It also means that the flow down towards the central coast has become more easterly as well. So we're looking at we're looking at quite a marked little trough system here. You can see here this 576 line. You can see how steep it goes towards the north and then how steep it goes back towards the south. So there's a very deep little trough right along the coastline come Sunday. So we're looking at basically a period of light to moderate falls in the Herbert Burdekin, possibly moderate to heavy in the North Tropical coast, and we're looking at that all the way from basically tomorrow night through to Sunday, and then by Sunday we should start to see the heavier rain coming back into the Herbert Burdekin region. We're going to take just a brief look at the GFS model. That was the European. The European tends to be a little bit more accurate than this one, but this one shows very similar things. So this is Tuesday 10 p.m, Wednesday 4 a.m. By Wednesday 4 a.m. even we start to see a good scattering of showers. Wednesday 4 p.m. we should see some showers inland and maybe even some storms in the central inland districts. By Friday night we start to see just general shower activity over the Herbert Burdekin, over the extreme coastal fringe, and also some heavier stuff happening over the North Tropical coast. And you can really see this trough system come Saturday morning. It's just lying off the coast. You can really see this dip in the isobar with the ridging. There's a big dip in the isobar, and there's also a steep incline and decline, or steep northward movement and then southward movement of this 576 line. And we continue then on to Thursday 4 p.m, Friday 4 p.m. coming up now, Friday 4 p.m. So by Friday 4 p.m. you can see that this trough system, according to this model, lies a little further south and a little closer to the Herbert Burdekin region as opposed to the North Tropical coast. So look, what we can say with quite a fair bit of certainty is that there's going to be some shower and possibly even storm activity, but shower activity and maybe even bordering on general rain periods in the North Tropical coast, possibly even the Herbert Burdekin, but particularly later on in the weekend for the Herbert Burdekin, and also for the Central Coast and Whitsundays. And once again for them, they'll get an early onset of showers, and then they'll get a bit of a clearance, and then they should get another onset of showers later on, with possible rain periods later on in the weekend. So we're not talking massive mega falls, but you know, the potential in this sort of stream, particularly for the North Tropical coast, is for those people to pick up anywhere from sort of 50 to 200 millimeters, and even the Herbert Burdekin areas, you'd be unlucky if you're on the coast to miss out with less than 30 from the event. But really, most people in the Herbert Burdekin, and particularly the Herbert part of the Herbert Burdekin, would be expecting over 50 mils out of this event. Now, this event is likely to continue on into Monday and possibly clear by Tuesday morning. The clearing will only be brief because the longer term pattern suggests that we're going to see another increase in rainfall towards the end of next week as well. So I know we're looking at a fairly long period, a long period away, but it is fairly certain, according to two of our global models, that we will see a repeat performance of another trough system pushing west off the Coral Sea. So this isn't due anything to do with the monsoon trough. This is all to do with a little dip in the isobars just coming in off the Coral Sea and a nice easterly feed from a big high down south. So that's what's causing the rainfall. We'll have a more in-depth look at a more regional perspective come tomorrow morning. So please check back with us sometime between 6 and 7 in the morning tomorrow as this situation develops further. Thanks very much for listening to us tonight, and remember, Severe Weather Chasers or swxc.net, and click on the Convective Outlook. We usually have our two latest outlooks there, so if you missed the last one, you can catch up on that one, plus catch the latest one at the top of that page. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll talk to you again in the morning.